which he lived to be 92 years old. You got to imagine, dude drank a lot of bourbon if he was producing it and like traveling around and drinking it.
It's probably the key of living so long.
I think so. I think the key to long life is
the Kentucky water.
Good balance.
Don't go too far north of Ohio. You don't want to know that water.
Dude.
Welcome everyone to episode 73 of The Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. We're your hosts, Anthony and Steven. Hello, my good sir.
Hello, I'm so happy to see you. You know why?
Because you get to try bourbon.
Well, that and because we're two wild and crazy guys. I knew you were going to see that one coming. So the reason why I haven't seen you in a while, and we know we've both been traveling, but you took a trip to
Sin City.
Sin City?
Yes.
I was just going to say the greatest place on earth, where what happens there stays there. Is that what they say?
That's
right?
what they say there.
Do you remember when George Bush said that? He's like, what is it about Vegas? They say what happens there stays there or something like that. Yeah. Everybody laughed. So you went out to Vegas with Michael, actually.
With Michael and the wives.
And the wives?
Huh? Yep. Selling a big milestone birthday.
Oh, yeah.
The three of them more.
Yeah, you've already.
I have ellipsed it. So.
Yeah, he's hit that milestone already, but the rest of them
they were hitting it.
The big 4-0, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I have a story. But the story was before we got there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the story before Vegas.
Yeah.
And here I was, like, I know people think because we have this podcast, we talk all the time, we text all the time, but we haven't talked at all about Vegas. Zero. Yeah, I know.
All right, so we caught a direct flight from Cincy to Vegas on the Quality Allegiant airline.
Okay.
And
Quality.
So we were sitting up front. We had like the first row, I think, because we picked our seats. So we just saw everyone come in. There was this guy that he looked like he probably lived in his mom's basement. I remember he was older, about 50. He had like random tats on him. He was wearing like long black jean shorts, the black shirt, trying to look all goth.
Unkept.
Yeah, unkept for sure. And so we finished boarding the plane, and they were doing their paper count on everyone to make sure the souls matched up with everything.
Yeah, you watch them like walk around and point at people, and you're like, I wonder all the time, are they actually counting, or are they just kind of going through the motions, like fake writing? I've done that before. Like when you're in a meeting and you fake write. But anyway, go ahead.
And so, we're about to take off. They're about to shut the door. And so we're about to go. And all of a sudden, this dude that I remember with the leg tattoos and gothing out.
Oh, no.
Was on the phone and said he had to use the bathroom and got off the plane.
Wait a minute. When he said, so he's on the phone and then he says, I got to go.
No, he's still on the phone. And the stewardess is like, you can't go out. You can't leave. You can't get back on the plane.
Yeah.
And he just like waved her off, like with his hand like over her shoulder, walking away, like, yeah, whatever.
Okay.
And so he walks up the sky bridge.
Oh, God.
And the person, the security person on the other side said the same thing to him, apparently, and he just waved him off.
Oh, okay.
And so now there's a dilemma on the plane.
Oh, no.
Like a huge security dilemma now.
Yeah.
At first, they're trying to figure out, did he have his luggage? Then they're trying to figure out, did he slip something in someone else's luggage?
Oh, man.
Then they were trying to collaborate with the people around him, saying, like, they're trying to get like what he looked like.
Yeah.
And so everyone was like pinching in, like, oh, this, that. And so finally the captain got on there and kind of said, we have to hold and we have to wait. And I think everyone was okay with that.
You don't know if this guy just walked on and did something, right? And walked out. Yeah.
So,
that's so good.
So eventually we found out that he was stopped. Security got him outside of TSA lines.
Okay.
And so he was in questioning as we're sitting there at the gate. They found his bag. They unloaded the plane.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
They found his bag, and I was on the window looking out, and the security guy went through his bag on the tarmac.
What did they find in there? Did you see anything?
No, he felt it, and then he gave it the thumbs up, and they took it away.
Okay.
So there's nothing there.
No large box of condoms or anything?
Or cucumbers.
Jeez.
And the pilot came on. It's like, well, it was about 45 minutes later.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I'm done waiting. He's like, what we're going to do is we're going to unboard the plane, and we're going to take out all the luggage. They're going to sweep it, and then we're going to load it again. which is, I think, is everyone was cool with this, and he wanted to do something to get go, but I think he was trying to follow protocol and just see if it was something real quick that they could deal with, but apparently it wasn't.
That's insane.
And so during this time before he called that, 2 or 3 like groups of people said they didn't feel safe.
Oh, of course.
So they got off, which is understandable.
Yeah.
And of course, when we unboarded the plane, they were still standing there because they didn't know what to do. So they did their thing, and we had to wait, and then we finally loaded the plane, and then we took off.
Okay, so you can't end the story there. I just want to know, even though our brother in podcast is absent, did Michael have some good commentary going on while this was happening?
We were sitting.
Were you separated?
Yeah, we're separated. I could see him, but I didn't. So come to find out, the scuttlebutt was that they think either he was going to meet a girlfriend or he was on the phone with his girlfriend, and they think maybe she broke up with him.
Oh, so he was just like, screw it, I'm out.
Yeah, he's like, or like, if you get on this plane, we're over, or something like that. I don't know what, to Vegas, I guess.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
And so maybe that's what he was doing.
Oh my God. Man, isn't that just like so? I mean, I'm glad that your trip got off and you guys actually got there and from by all accounts had fun and everything. But isn't that like so ridiculous? We had a situation one time where somebody like brought their bag on the plane. Like, this is what people do. Mm-hmm. Put it in the front seat because they couldn't find an overhead bin and the front seat was open. And they like put the seatbelt around it and then just like sat down. So when people are getting ready to take count and everything, they're like, whose bag is this? And the moron who put the bag up there didn't say anything. So it was like, there's a mystery bag on the plane. Yeah. And that caused us a delay. And then I don't remember who claimed the bag, but like everybody like booed this person. They're like, no doubt. What's the matter with you?
So causing this delay.
So this guy did not get back on the plane. Is that what I'm saying?
No. Okay. And it was basically we had a 2-hour delay.
Oh my God.
But I think when he said we're deep aboard the plane, I think everyone was like, good call. Yeah. At this point, I mean, this is the fastest way to be sure.
Yeah, and you don't know, and that pilot probably knew what to do. He just, like you said, had to follow protocol. But that's crazy.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you could just walk out of the plane too, and nobody tackled him or anything. They're like, guess that's the way it goes.
I mean, I think they're hastily looking for this guy.
Yeah,
because of the situation.
Wow.
So Anthony, if I can remember and keep these straight, I think we had one review that we need to get to.
That's correct, man. Yeah, so keep those 5-star reviews coming in on Apple Podcasts, and we'd like to hear from you on Facebook as well. But this review that came to us was from TBG32, and they wrote, "Great lighthearted podcast. Always enjoy listening to you all in the car or while on a walk. My go-to bourbon podcast. Thanks." That is a high compliment because I know I like to take walks and exercise and listen to other podcasts, and so somebody's doing that for us.
Entertaining while you walk.
I know. And hey, and in the car, forget about it, right? We're all doing that, I'm listening to nothing but podcasts and, occasionally really loud, obnoxious music. But we appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I like to know what TBG stood for.
I would too, but maybe we'll get a decoder out one time and find out. All these names I wish Apple had a better system for the podcast so I could actually identify people. But if that was you, we like to hear from you as well. So a couple people have actually heard us give them a shout out, then send us a message and say, "Hey, that was me."
It's been fun.
It's been fun to talk to people. So good stuff.
So thank you. And if you like a shout out, just leave us a review on Apple Podcast and we'll get to you next time we record. Anthony, this week we were talking about what to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've got this bottle.
Like most weeks, we're always drawing from our own stashes, but you shocked me with this one.
And I was like, how did I forget about this one?
Yeah, just back of the cabinet.
Just back of the cabinet, just sitting there, and it's in all its glory. For this week, we are going to have a bottle of Colonel E.H. Taylor Small Batch.
All right. And this bottle is distilled and bottled by the little-known Buffalo Trace Distillery, right? I mean, nobody's ever heard of them in Frankfort, Kentucky.
That's a craft one, right?
Yeah, it's craft, isn't it? No.
Under 500 bottles.
Yeah, they only produce like 5,000 barrels now. But, of course, that's a Sazerac-owned distillery that's the world famous. So the bottle date for this one, as you said, we found it in the back of the cabinet, is actually 2017.
Jeez, I had it that long?
Wow, yeah. The ABV is 50%. The proof is 100. This carries it doesn't say age stated on the bottle, but it's bottled in bond, so it's 4 years old minimum. The mash bill is undisclosed, as you've heard us talk about in the past, and it's a big mystery for everybody out there in internet land. But it's Buffalo Trace mash bill number 1, which is thought to be less than 10% rye. This is also the same category where you have things like Eagle Rare, Buffalo Trace, Stag, and so on. The true MSRP on this bottle is actually $39.99, but I think at Buffalo Trace, what did you say you paid for it?
I think it was like low 40s.
Yeah, I think it's like 42 there, or 42.99, and that's what you can get it out of the store that really charges like true MSRP. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah,
you're not going to find it usually at true MSRP.
Oh, definitely.
Unless you're at the distillery, or you get lucky at a store.
I think we either were coming out of a random tour or like one of those events they have there.
Okay,
I can't remember. I remember being like late at night as we were leaving. I hopped in the gift store and then bought it and we left.
And that's so shocking. You said you walked into the gift store late at night and bought it. That couldn't happen now, right? Because it would sell out in a couple of hours when they put it on the shelf. So good for you.
And I think I bought 2 of them.
Oh, you got 2 of them. So this is just this. Do you have another one somewhere? Or is this
I think
one?
I gave it as a gift.
Oh, okay. See,
so,
what are you doing? You're giving away the bourbon as a gift? How dare you?
What's wrong with me?
What's wrong with you?
This is definitely an eye-catching bottle. Well, I'm sorry. This is definitely an eye-catching cardboard sleeve.
Tube.
Yeah, tube.
Yeah, the tubey.
Yeah, because like a wooden box, you're going to notice a cardboard cylinder sitting on a shelf.
Yeah,
That's taller than everything else.
It's taller than everything else, and I can't remember the first bourbon I've ever bought that had in a box. I probably can remember a bourbon in a box, but one with the tube, this might be the first bourbon I ever bought with a tube. I wasn't buying like old school Willet gift shop releases. I wasn't that savvy, but they had a tube. Mm-hmm. But I think that, this tube's nice. It's very nicely designed. It has like a raised lettering to it. What color is that? What color would you call it? Is that yellow, or is that like mustard, or what is that?
Talking about the Manila?
Label? Yeah, that's kind of what it is. It looks like cardboard and
It's one of those folders.
Manila wafers.
Oh, I was going to say the Manila folders.
Manila folders.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know. I'm lost over here.
Oh.
But it's
Can you see that, colorblind man?
Yeah, I'm staring at it. It's really close to my face right now. In fact, I like the fact that this massive tube, like I could swing it over and hit somebody with it, but it's really close to my face. It's interesting. So, do you know what we have on this tube here?
So each one in the vertical is colored differently.
Yeah.
So this is like a burnt orange. I think the small batch is.
It was more orangey. Now it's like a red orange.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what it looks like. But I think they switched this. You probably got one of the first tubes after they switched it from the orange.
That was probably around the time they switched over, yeah.
And I think they use the orange now for more special releases. Like, do you know what some of the... I mean, this is special, but do you know what some of the other products are here in this line?
The Grain of the Gods.
Oh, yeah. Amaranth. Yeah.
Talking about that?
Yep.
The 4 grain that no one ever sees.
4 grain, yeah. Those ones are actually still somewhat attainable.
There's the Tornado's Warehouse C Survivor.
Well, there's a Tornado Surviving, which was when the tornado hit. Yeah. And then there's the new Warehouse C release, which people are calling bootleg Tornado Surviving. What's the one they had? Was it Seasoned Oak? That's really popular, an older one. That's like, massive.
Was it charred or seasoned? No, it's seasoned.
It's seasoned.
That's right.
It's massive. Then my personal favorite is 18-year marriage.
That's right.
No, it's not my personal favorite. I just like saying marriage. But yeah, I know we've got a little off base here, but you can't really talk about E.H. Taylor without talking about those other really popular bottles, and the small batch is popular in its own right. But my favorite part of this is this back part of the tube says E.H. Taylor is not accidental, but it's fundamental, right?
Yeah.
And thousands of visitors will attest that this is the best stuff ever. That's not quite what it says.
Oh, okay.
But there's a lot of stuff on this tube.
There, it's busy. So all the bottles, they're all different color, like all the other verticals on every other brand.
Yes.
And so this one is the burnt or the reddish burnt orange.
Yeah.
And so each one but they're so faint. They're kind of hard to tell which bottle is which without reading it, I think.
I agree with you. And just for everybody out there in listening land, I've never had the opportunity to purchase one of the highly allocated E.H. Taylor products. Like the most I've ever got my hands on was the rye. the small batch, single barrel, and one time the barrel proof. That was it, So it's not like you see an abundance of these. If you run across an E.H. Taylor, it's likely to be small batch or single barrel. And they're going to look very similar. I think the single barrel, though, uses just like black lettering all throughout. What do you think about this bottle in terms of the shape? It's like a wine.
It looks like a mixture between a wine and the neck kind of reminds me of an old Western whiskey bottle. I mean, it's a pretty generic bottle.
It is. It looks very.
The stickers make it stand out, but other than that, it's a pretty just elegant, basic bottle.
Yeah, it looks classic in a sense, and I know I told you this before when we were talking about it, but like the fake tack strip on here, like I'm starting to get sick of this. It's like cheesy. It's just like you either put like a real looking tack strip on there. Why keep the fake one on there? Like, I
think the one that kills me the most is the McKenna. And the whole bottle looks like dollar bills, and then their bond looks like $100. $100.
Massive cheese. Like if you're going to increase the price of McKenna to $70, give us a bottle redesign so it doesn't look so ridiculous. Stephen, I know that you can, if you read the bottle and all the fine print on it, you can see. But did you know what the EH stood for? And E.H. Taylor, or do you just kind of just this fictitious? Because Buffalo Trace is about people, they love to name bourbon after people. A lot of people do, but did you know originally?
I think it's something Hayes. I don't know. I want to say Elijah, but I know that's not right.
No, it's not. It's but it's close. It's Edmund Haynes. Haynes Taylor.
Okay.
Jr. Actually, I don't know who Edmund Haynes Taylor Sr. was, but this man was a man of men. And if you look at his picture on the bottle, even though he looks like he's directing a circus with this top hat, you see this? I mean, I've seen some pictures of dude. They could make him look better than he does on this bottle. He kind of looks like a creepy circus guy.
It looks like one of the pictures on like a Scooby Doo episode that hanging on the wall, like the eyeballs are looking at you.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. It's a scary Scooby Doo picture, but he was actually a very accomplished person, a distiller, a banker, a world traveler, a descendant of 2 former presidents. I think it was Madison and Zachary Taylor, if I remember correctly. But he's at the center of the foundation of what we now know and love as the modern Buffalo Trace distillery. He was the person who, there were other people who distilled on site. And I think Buffalo Trace is named stuff after those people, like Blanton and Hancock and stuff. But he was the guy that, purchased the distillery in 1870 and gave it its first name, which was OFC, which I incorrectly always thought was Old Fashioned Copper, because I'm an idiot. It's Old Fire Copper.
Old Fire Copper, yeah.
Distillery, and they have, he's heralded up for all these distinctive modern techniques, but, he picked this stuff up when he was traveling around Europe when it came to distilling. But did you ever hear or see anything about how they uncovered his old fermentation tanks at Buffalo Trace?
Oh, I've not.
You didn't hear about that?
Unless they were buried in dirt, no.
Yeah, they were buried. They're literally were
because that was the only story I could think of.
That's the only thing you could think of. They were trying to remodel something at Buffalo Trace, and they actually were cutting through the floor, and they found his old stuff, and they've refurbished it. And I think we may have talked about that at some point. But anyway,
do you ever watch that TV show? They don't make it anymore, but Cities of the Underworld.
You know what? I think I've seen it at one time. Is that what is it about? Isn't it about
It's basically how yesteryears basically got covered up by modern society.
Okay.
And the guy would go down into the crypts and whatever of the old town, of the old city, and talk about it. It was awesome. But now he does mysteries at the museum. It's the same guy.
Okay.
So
he's expanded.
Yeah, and I don't know why they canceled it. I guess maybe they're running out of old cities.
Well, maybe he needs to come to Buffalo Trace and do a feature on Bourbon Pompeii is what they call it, right?
But I think it ended 5 or 10 years ago. So, but anyway, go on.
Well, no, that would be the way. And I was going to say, I don't need to say anything else. I think I'm ready to nose this thing, with all this history and everything that I'm supposed to feel coming out of this glass, because this is the beginning of modern bourbon. I'm excited, and I hope it really impresses us.
Well, we'll see how this compares to what Elijah Craig thinks.
Here we go. Yeah, they're probably hanging out at the same time,
Yeah. Well, I'm ready for a baseball game.
Oh, yeah.
Big League Chew.
There is definitely some bubblegummy flavors coming off this, but there's also a nice a charred oaken caramel, but But yeah, that bubblegum note's strong. Where's that coming from?
I don't know, but I hate to say this, but do you feel like you're getting like a youth, like a young wood out of this?
A little bit. I think what's happening here, and spoiler alert, this is not the first time I've ever tasted E.H. Taylor, and I don't think it's the first time you ever tasted it. But since this is such an old bottle and one that's been open a long time, and I don't remember the last time I've drank E.H. Taylor. This might as well be a new nosing and tasting
But
experience.
probably the last time was when you had it in this bottle, this exact bottle.
And that was probably more than a year ago or a year and a half ago, at least 2 years ago.
2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years ago. I lose track of time. But yeah, so there you go. Yeah, it does have a little bit of youth because there's a little bit of ethanol coming off of it that I'm not really super used to. And when I say not super used to, like, one thing I will say as a self-proclaimed, somewhat taterish Buffalo Trace person, the reason why I do like their bourbon is because I don't usually get those kind of notes, and this one's a little bit ethanol-y to me.
Are you getting, did you say brown sugar?
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Are you getting brown sugar?
Yeah. I feel like I'm getting...
Yeah, you know what it is? I think
some sweet.
I think the youth you're picking up is the grain coming through. That's what I'm getting. And then I wouldn't know if I'd call it brown sugar as much as I'd call it like a faint butterscotch and brown sugar.
Yes, that's what I was smelling right there.
Butterscotch.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it is a butterscotch note. So that's actually, all in all, a pretty nice nose.
Yeah, especially, I mean, you said ethanol, but it doesn't like knock you out of your seat or anything.
No, it doesn't. It's not like it's 100 proof. So if this were higher proof at this age, so I think their barrel proof is aged longer, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure how much longer, but if this were a 4-year-old 120 proof whiskey, it'd probably be like lighting the nose on fire. In addition to the OFC, the famous OFC that we know and love as the modern Buffalo Trace facility, do you know what else Colonel Taylor built in terms of, I guess he was an owner and operator of 7 different distilleries in his time on this earth, which he lived to be 92 years old. You got to imagine dude drank a lot of bourbon if he was producing it and like traveling around and drinking it.
It's probably the key of living
key?
so long.
I think so. I think the key to long life is the
Kentucky water.
Good balance.
Don't go too far north of Ohio. You don't want that water.
There you go. You don't want that. You just stay here in Kentucky and drink that water. But so in addition to the old Fire Copper distillery that we know and love today as Buffalo Trace,
yep.
E.H. Taylor was also the builder and proprietor of a distillery in Millville, Kentucky that sat dormant for many years after, it went defunct. And do you know which distillery I'm talking about out in Millville? That's
Millville? I don't even know the name of that town.
It's right out there by Versailles, right on the corner there.
Oh, you're talking about Castle and Key.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that was in...
You didn't know that?
I didn't know the name of the little area.
Yeah, it's Millville, Kentucky. And so Castle and Key, which we've made some comments about Castle and Key on this podcast over the course of 70 plus episodes, they bought that old site and revamped it and started distilling there back in 15 or 16, and they almost immediately got slapped with a lawsuit from big old bully Sazerac because it's a historic site. It's on the historic site register, and they wanted to leave the sign up that says Old Taylor Distillery right at the entrance. Because they wanted to do that, obviously Buffalo Trace, they didn't always own the trademark and the brand, but they want to enforce that trademark. So they tried to sue Castle and Key, which, I mean, I get it. You're a brand. You want to protect your brand. But really, like...
It's a historic landmark.
Yeah, it's a historic landmark.
How much ground you have
not being too friendly to, like, a new distiller who's,
Unless they just want to sue him out of existence.
Sue him out of existence or whatever. But they actually beat big old bad Sazerac company. Castle and Key prevailed there.
Wow.
And
they must have had the hammer.
Yeah. It's a little Daryl Isaacs reference. Those of you guys who have been to Kentucky may have heard the hammer commercials, but I know every state has one.
Yeah,
we got the
and I think he's probably called something else in another state anyway.
Yeah. He's the guy that says if you're in an accident, I'll make them pay kind of guy. Call the hammer, right? So the hammer maybe helped Castle and Key. See, we're just creating our own history here. Win this lawsuit, but it's really interesting because Buffalo Trace did not even own the trademark to Taylor until 2009. It was previously owned by Beam. And when they bought it, I don't know, some of you guys may have purchased a jug of Old Taylor 6-year-old, which is actually Beam Juice. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Jade Haddix because he purchased my half open bottle of Old Taylor 6-year. And he commonly reminds me or frequently reminds me that he's not happy with that purchase. And oh, shut up. I gave it to you for next to nothing. But, anyway, very different from what we're drinking today.
Before we get into the taste,
yes,
I picked up one more note that I pray to God it comes through on the palate.
Okay.
I picked up pancakes and syrup.
Oh.
To go with all that sweetness.
Yeah, you know what? There is a lot of sweetness in this nose. And I saw you you should have seen Steven. He has a nose in the glass. He's kind of licking the edges. And I was like, what's he doing over there? And now that I hear what you're saying about pancakes, that's why, because you were excited about that.
How it comes through.
Yeah, well, let's see.
All right. Breakfast time.
Breakfast. To me, the palate is not I'm going first real quick on my taste.
Go.
Very floral to me. Like almost floral to a point that I'm getting a little bit of fruit, maybe a little bit of cherry, but the floral is overpowering to me. I'm not a huge fan of floral. And when I say floral, I can't really explain a taste because I don't lick flowers, but floral aromas and scents that are transferring over and taste to me.
So I guess we're getting the kind of same thing because I'm not getting an overwhelming taste out of it.
No.
So the floral would fit in right there.
Yeah, it's it's lighter than I thought. It's got less char.
It's pretty light. Well, It's got another bottle. The bottle makes it look a lot ambery than it actually is in a glass.
Yeah, it's kind of light. There is some floral, sweet oak, a little bit of cherry, and I feel like there's some kind of a baked good in here, but I can't put my finger on it. It's in the middle. I don't really know what it is.
Do you feel like it comes short on the palate?
Like the flavors just don't dance enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like if I was to describe it, here's how I would describe it. It hits you quickly, and it is balanced. It doesn't completely fall off, but it's only there for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
It's not really intense.
My mouth is warm.
It's just so weird because this doesn't really taste like anything that I thought it would based on nosing. The nosing was much better in my opinion than the palate.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
You get much of a finish?
It's all just pleasant.
Yeah, there's nothing bad about it.
From all the angles, from the tasty notes to the finish to I'm not getting burnt on alcohol.
Yeah, not at all. Oh, no.
There's no, I know we noted the maybe a little the grain note, the wood note, but it's not really coming through on the palate.
No, I'm not getting the grain. Like I said, I can't put my finger on whatever baked good it is. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of that, but it's very faint.
Yeah.
It's interesting though because it's not super the sweetness doesn't seem like a corn sweetness. It seems like and
all the sweet things we were nosing didn't really transfer over to the palate there.
Not at all. Like that floral sort of dominates. It's either cherry or raisin. Do you get in cherry or raisin?
Raisin.
Okay.
Raisin. Yeah, I could.
I know those are two different things.
Yeah, I know. I could taste the skin.
How's this guy? What's he talking about? Is it cherry or raisin?
I can taste the skin of a raisin as you chomp through it.
Okay.
So I feel like over the years, this vertical here has become just everyone wants to collect it. Oh, yeah. And if you do try to collect it, get your wallet ready because I think I could be wrong about this, but I think the tornado surviving and stuff goes for $10,000. It's steep. I don't think I'm making that up. I've seen them all over the place, or maybe it's a seasoned oak. I don't keep up with it because I know if I tried to collect this vertical, there's just no chance. I'd probably divorce and kicked out of my house. So I was thinking of my precious. I thought you'd be laying on the floor twitching, and you only have 4 bottles at that point. Just saying, my precious. That's a great mental picture right there. Laying on the floor, clutching the E.H. Taylor. Oh, yeah. There you go. Do they have another vertical that I guess sought after right now? I know tides will change. Tides will change, and something else will come up, and just the environment will change. But
obviously the Van Winkle vertical is a pretty sought after one, and there's some things coming from them.
I really
that are
don't
amazing.
consider that a vertical.
I know, right? I know. It's just like an unattainable one, but
it's like, oh, here's 6 bottles or 7 bottles.
Yeah. You got those. I mean, you have really limited releases like your Double Eagle Very Rares and your
that's true.
OFCs that come out annually. But I mean, if you're able to collect those, you must just have a job where you have an endless amount of money and can grease the palms of the people that get those or whatever. Yeah. So there are definitely there's some sought after verticals from Buffalo Trace, but I think that an obtainable one or one that people started collecting early on and have in mass. I mean, this is probably one of the top ones I would say from them. It's definitely more than, in my opinion, more than Blanton's. Like Blanton's has a lot of variations, especially internationally and things like that. But I think that, people might disagree with me there, but I think that if you had to collect the vertical of E.H. Taylor versus Blanton's, most bourbon people would say they'd rather have the E.H. Taylor vertical if they could.
I guess the Blantons, I mean, now some of them over here, but really it was like half of them were only international.
Yeah.
And to get your hands on those would be, do you think those are easier or harder than, I guess they're easier because you can go in you can go to the stores and order them.
Yeah, they're probably easier. And then the other thing is like, you got to remember, like when these E.H. Taylors were hitting the shelf, the ones that are like, selling for thousands and thousands of dollars, like people were opening them and drinking them because they were $50 and $60 bottles back then. And that was before the bourbon boom. Mm-hmm. Like it was really like, I don't want to say it was Buffalo Trace's first real experimental line where they like started, but it kind of was, like they.
Was there 4 grain when that came out? I remember that being kind of a big deal. Was there another 4 grain besides that?
I think other craft distillers were doing 4 grain and some other guys had done 4 grain, but of course, because Buffalo Trace didn't, it was a well-aged premium product. Like, of course, people were freaking out over it. So 4 grain, that was definitely one of those. And I've heard from people that have tasted like the Amaranth and 4 grain and more of the modern releases. And they always say the same thing. They always say they're not worth the money they're trading for. But I think the reason why they trade and sell so high is because people want to have vertical.
Yeah. So, Anthony, would you pass, try, or buy on the Colonel E.H. Taylor small batch bourbon?
I'm going to make this really short and sweet. I'm a buy, but not a buy because of the taste. Okay? So
then why the hell are you buying it?
There you go. Exactly. What are you buying it for? So here's the thing. If I can get an E.H. Taylor small batch at retail, and when I say retail, I'm going to say under $50. Mm-hmm. The reason why I'm going to buy it is twofold. Because it's a great bourbon to entertain with, because even though you and I are saying I'm going to say it. I don't know what you're going to say. I think the taste is average to above average, okay? It's not exceptional, but when you get this, you can entertain with it, and it's a nice bottle that everyone's going to go, wow. Just because they kind of know what it is. Then the other thing is it's always a chip to have if you're trying to trade or, I don't know, not sell, right? But if you're in the enthusiast markets and you're looking for a trading chip, this thing is a very reliable bottle at the $80 to $100 range. And so if you can get it at retail, you can almost double the value of a trade. So that's why I'm never leaving one on the shelf when I find it, because if I'm not going to entertain with it or drink it myself, I'm going to be able to probably trade it for something else I want, which that's why I'm never going to leave it there. But that's I said a short answer, and I did not give a short answer. I gave a very long and nuanced answer. So now what are you going to do with it?
I'm going to have a similar short answer.
Okay.
On taste, I would try.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I've ever been blown away by this.
Mm-hmm.
But like you, if I see it MSRP, I'm going to pick it up.
Yeah.
Because it's unique enough for the shelf.
Yeah.
It makes a great gift.
Heck yeah.
And it's not like you can get this at any time or anywhere.
Yep.
So for those reasons, I think I would be a buy.
And to double down on that, I have never seen a person get a bottle of E.H. Taylor and be disappointed with it. Mm-hmm. And you got to look at what other things cost in this price range. And there's definitely some disappointing bottles that you can buy and give to people. If you can get this at retail, this checks all the boxes. I
mean, I'll be happy any sort of bottle in a tube, be it this or a scotch or something about this presentation that just says, "Oh, awesome!"
Yeah, I agree.
It's in a quote box from retail, so it must be good, I guess.
Hey, do you know there's actually a market for tubes? Like, there's a group where you can buy tubes and boxes and stuff because, you know, if you're like me, I'm willing to admit this now at the end of this episode, that back when I got my first couple bottles of V.H. Taylor, which is probably circa 15, 16, 17, and at that time it was just a single barrel, a small batch, and a rye, I would throw the tubes away because they took up too much space.
Oh, no.
I would just take them and junk them. I'd be like, oh, well, I'm going to drink that anyway. So I put it in the cabinet and be like, that's nicer in the cabinet without the tube. And I'd throw the tube away. I didn't know that, like, at the time, you could not trade that whiskey or sell it if you didn't have the tube. And that's why the secondary market for tubes and boxes was created.
How much is that tube?
I think
decrease the value of it on secondary.
Well, here's the thing: if somebody's going to buy it to resell it or use it in trade, then they want the tube. But if they're just drinking it, I don't think they care all that much. They might ask for $10-15.
I mean, I guess if you're going to get rid of it right away, drinking it, get rid of it, I guess you don't care. But if you just want it on the shelf, maybe from 2017, you probably want the tube.
Absolutely. Yeah. There you go. And so, boys and girls, if you're listening out there, make sure you keep your tubes, boxes, and bags because you never know when you're going to need them.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Mashup KY. Also, let us know your thoughts on this bottle in the comments section. Until next time, keep it neat.